the same boat. Like, I'm tired. I'm done with resolutions. Because how many of you have made a resolution before and it lasted like 2 weeks or 2 days or 2 hours? I saw this funny video of this guy. He's standing there and he has on the screen, it says, day 1 of no eating cookies. And then it pans back to him again and it goes, day 1 again of no eating cookies. And then it pans back, it says 20 minutes later, starting over, day 1 of no eating cookies. And then he makes it like 3 days, and then it goes, day 1 of no eating cookies. Because that's the way that we are. This is the type we are. So I was looking just at a few resolutions that people do make, and the first one obviously is health-related. Eating better, losing weight, drinking more water, eating the vegetables in the fridge before they go bad. You know what I'm talking about? Anybody have vegetables in the fridge that they're like, I'm not sure if those are okay, we'll cook them really well or something. Some people have financial resolutions, save more, spend less, make more, find a new job, whatever it might be. Manage our time more, spend more time with family. All of these are really, really good. And then some of them get into more personal things, like I want to read more, I want to have a better resume, or bucket lists. You guys know what a bucket list is? Things that I want to do before I die. Most of my travel destinations, Sean, you've been on most of my travel bucket list destinations, but places that you'd like to go, like Paris or the Great Wall of China, or different destinations like that. Some of you have bucket list items like personal growth things, like I want to learn a new skill this year. I want to write a book or run a marathon. Anybody ever run a marathon in the room? No? Okay, good. We're in good company then. I'm not a runner either. This is the place for you. You found your church. We are not. I see those 90-plus-year-olds running marathons, and it's inspiring. And I like to sit and watch a good movie like that. But at the end of the day, I'm probably not, maybe even a 5K is a little much. It might be pushing it some days, right? So we've got all these things. And then there's some thrill bucket lists, like skydiving. I don't know who in the world would jump out of a perfectly good airplane or helicopter, but I'm not one of those. Do you guys realize that you don't have to have a parachute to skydive either?
If you want to do it twice.
Yeah. You only have to have a parachute if you want to skydive twice. Right? Some of you want to go on a safari maybe, or zip lining, swimming with dolphins. That would be fun for some of us maybe. Or there's a lot of these bucket lists that people have, hiking a mountain. Anybody ever hiked a mountain before? I'm not talking about Chilawi Mountain. I'm talking about like a real, these are the Smoky Mountains are like teenage mountains. Then you got the Rocky Mountains. Anybody ever been to the Rocky Mountains? Those are like massive. I grew up in Colorado and Nebraska. Those are big mountains. But then you have the top 5 in the world that people put on their bucket list to hike. And the last one we know is Mount Everest. Mount Everest. I know I'm kind of all over the place a little bit this morning, but I'm going somewhere, I promise. So I was curious what it looks like to hike Mount Everest. And I say hike loosely because it's not like put on your boots, get your backpack, and let's go hiking. Like, this is a 2-month journey. To hike Mount Everest all the way to the top, it takes 2 months. And it can cost you up to or over $100,000. So if you want to hike Mount Everest, first of all, you have to have the time. Second of all, you have to have the money. And then you need some gear along the way. The gear, they say, this is just some of it. This isn't all of it. This isn't extensive. But some of the things that caught my eye is you need plastic, frost-proof clubbing boots. I have no idea what those are, and they're very expensive. I've looked them up. But you need special boots to climb. You need these glasses. They're called glacier glasses. I guess they're extra thick, extra wear and tear glasses that last in Mount Everest. You need a sleeping bag rated for, catch this, negative 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I didn't know they made a thing. I didn't know that. I go to the academy and I get a sleeping bag that maybe is rated for 10 degrees. This is for negative 300. I don't even know where you find this. And then you need to bring and pack enough food so you have 6,000 calories per day to eat. That's a lot of food. You see all the packages on the back of cereal boxes and things like for a 2,000 calorie diet. 6,000 calories a day that you need because your body is just trying to stay alive. That's really what it is. So you get there, You get to the base of the mountain, not base camp. You get to the base of the mountain, and it's a 10-day hike just to get to base camp. Just to get to the starting line, it takes you 10 days to base camp. And then you have Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, and then Zone 4 is affectionately called the Death Zone. This is the last zone that you get to. So each of these are camps that you stop at, and then you get the Death Zone. And when you die on the mountain, you just stay on the mountain. Nobody's bringing you back because they're just happy to get back. Once you get up, you have to come down. I'm sure the down is a lot easier than the up. I'm not certain, but I watched a show called Everest, and it was about a true story of these people that went hiking, going up to Mount Everest, and half of them died, and I just thought, it didn't end well. I thought they were going to save the day and save the person, and he was going to come back. His wife was about to have a kid, and they, all the drama that movies bring, and he died. And I was like, and then the credits rolled. I go, what did we just watch? We spent 2 hours of our life watching something that I never now want to do, ever, ever, ever. Anybody have that on your bucket list, Mount Everest? Do you want to hike it? Oh, I didn't think so. Not anymore. Maybe you did, and now you're like, never mind, I'm not. There's another mountain that I like. Anybody ever been to Yosemite National Park in California? It is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And they have this 3,000-foot vertical granite wall called El Capitan. You can kind of see it on this picture right here. And there's another documentary called Free Solo, where this guy climbs a 3,000-foot vertical granite cliff, that one right there, without any ropes, without any tie-ins. He did it several times with ropes and tie-ins to kind of track his journey all the way up. I go to High Point occasionally, and I'm terrible at climbing. I get halfway up, and I'm looking down like, this is probably too high for anybody. And he's climbing 3,000 foot up. One mistake, one wrong move, and they caught it all on camera. His friends were videotaping. They had drones doing all of it. And they said, the last thing that we want to do, we told him we would videotape it, but we do not want to see him fall. It would be devastating. And so these are bucket list things. There are people, he trained and trained and trained. He was literally living in his van, and he had all this equipment, because there are times that you're hanging on barely by the edges of your fingers and your toes, and you're finding these crevices and these cracks. I don't know how they do it. But they're not on my list. Here's what's on my list, all right? We went to a place in southern Missouri called Elephant Rocks. I don't know if you've been there. It's a state park in southern Missouri, and it is just a nice little hike. There's all these big, giant granite boulders that they say during certain times look like elephants, but you don't climb them unless you want to. It's like a kid's playground. And you walk around. This is not Everest, Elephant Rocks. Or if you've ever been to Kentucky, they've got Mammoth Cave. Anybody been to Mammoth Cave? That's a really cool place. It's one of the largest caves in the whole world, and we went down on a tour. It was in the middle of the summer, so it was like 50 degrees down there, and it felt wonderful. But you got a tour guide. And the worst you have to do is kind of like turn sideways to go through a few places, but it is not a tough trek. For me, it's like, give me something more manageable. Give me something a little lighter to carry. Give me something more comfortable. We like the idea of watching a show about somebody doing incredible feats, but we often resist the effort it takes to get there. And this is what I love about this text that we're going to get into. Let's start in Matthew chapter 4. We're not going to get into 5 yet. Let's start in Matthew chapter 4, verse 23 through 25. This is right before Jesus preaches the parable or the Sermon on the Mount, and it says this. Matthew 4:23, it's on the screens as well. They might be a little small, but it says this. And Jesus went about all of Galilee. Everybody say Galilee. Galilee. Teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all kinds of sickness and all kinds of disease among the people. Then his fame went throughout all Syria, and they brought to him all the sick people who were afflicted with various diseases and torments, and those who were demon-possessed, epileptics and paralytics, and he healed them. Great multitudes followed him from Galilee, Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and beyond the Jordan. He's teaching with power. He's healing every kind of sickness. He's freeing people from oppression. And the result of all of this is massive crowds. People are following Jesus because he's blessing them, helping them, meeting their needs. People love to follow Jesus when he's helping them, meeting their needs. We love politicians who promise us all of those things, right? I'll vote for you because you're giving me free. And so he gets all these massive crowds around him. Here's the reality: if we are honest with ourselves, most of the time is we love ground level Jesus. We love surface level Jesus. We love Jesus when he's blessing, when he's helping, when he's meeting needs. It's easy to follow Jesus when he's fixing all your problems. But something shifts as we get into chapter 5. Something shifts right here. In this moment, Jesus, it says this in chapter 5, verse 1, it says this, and seeing the multitudes, he went up on a mountain. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? He looked around and he saw the crowds, and as a good pastor, a good preacher in today's culture in America, let's erect a building. Let's start a program. Let's start a church. We've got 10,000 people. Let's go ahead and do this thing. Let's call it Jesus in Samaria or Jesus in Jerusalem, and let's call it a church, and let's just keep bringing people. I'll keep healing them. I'll keep feeding them. I'll keep doing all of these things for them. And guess what people will keep doing is showing up and showing up and showing up. But Jesus looked out and saw all the people. It's almost anti everything that we see. And I'm not talking bad about churches or any of those things, because we want to grow as a church and we want to definitely fill heaven. But Jesus is kind of the antithesis of all of that. He looks at the crowds and he goes the other way. There's oftentimes that he would try to hide even. He'd run from the crowds and get away from the crowds. But I'm telling you, when Jesus shows up, people show up. But Jesus, he doesn't just turn away. It says that he started to climb. He went up a mountain. Jesus doesn't preach the Sermon on the Mount at ground level. He doesn't shout kingdom truth to the casual crowd. He moves upward. Which means not everyone got to hear the Sermon on the Mount. Only those willing to climb did. Think about that. Could you imagine living in that time, seeing Jesus, and then he starts to climb the mountain, and I bet there were a lot of people, probably several thousand people, that were like, I got some stuff to do at home, and he already healed me, and he already took care of this issue and that problem and that thing, so they're good, but I got what I came for. Right? I mean, this is probably the reality of a lot of this, is Jesus he's separating the crowd from the disciples. He's separating the crowd from the disciples. Like, they were willing to follow Jesus across towns, but are they willing to follow him up a mountain? Because Jesus always requires a decision. Every time that we see him throughout the books, throughout the Gospels, we see that Jesus requires a decision. He goes to the rich young ruler. One of the few that he said, follow me. Follow me. But go sell everything that you have and give it away to the poor. And what happened? He turned away sad because he had a lot of wealth. He turned away sad. Jesus said, come follow me, but this is what it would take. And it's not the same requirement for everybody, but Jesus does require something. This life requires sacrifice. There are people who died. There were martyrs that went before us to make sure that we could have what we have today. This requires something of us. And anytime Jesus walks around and makes a decision, even the man full of demons, they called him Legion. He was in the Decapolis area. He asked, Jesus, can I go with you? You freed me. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to go back to the way I was. Can I follow you? And Jesus said, no, I want you to not follow me right now in this moment. I want you to go and share what you've been taught. What happened to you, go and be a witness. And it's so interesting because he desired to follow Jesus physically, but Jesus said, I want you to grow. I want you to do this on your own. You can do this. You can do more than you're capable of. And Jesus came back a year later to that area, and the people were already witnessed, and they accepted Jesus. It's so cool. That man did what he set out to do. But it's going to require a decision. And this is where we're at kind of now, is because Jesus didn't force anybody to go up the mountain. He doesn't drag the crowd. He just simply goes higher and waits to see who will come. He doesn't force anyone. So we follow Jesus here. We've come this far. You're in church. You're near him. But the question again is, are you going to stay in the crowd, or are you going to be a disciple and follow? There's a book called Fan or Follower. Fan or like, are you going to be a fan who just sits? We're in football season right now. It's wrapping up. It's gearing to the end. We were talking about the 49ers. It's fun. I've been in an NFL football game, and it's fun being in the stands. Unless you're the away team and you're all by yourself, you know. But you're cheering in the stands, and it's exciting. The atmosphere is exciting. But I'm telling you, it's a lot different sitting in the stands saying, that was a terrible decision. You should have done something different, than it is being on the field in the moment, looking at this 230, 40-pound linebacker coming at you. Like, that's a whole different ball game, isn't it? Than being the coach on the sideline saying, I've got to make this call. Should we go for one or two in this moment? There's a big difference in following Jesus, coming to church on a Sunday, and being willing to live for Him every single day of the week. There's a big difference. Crowds watch, disciples climb. Crowds receive, disciples respond. Crowds attend, but disciples surrender. There's a big difference between crowds and disciples, fans and followers. And so why does Jesus go higher? Why do the mountains matter? Why does this moment matter? Because here's the thing. In the Sermon on the Mount, when He gets up there and He starts teaching, and we're going to go through all of these over the next, like I said, couple months. These are some things that He does. He shapes our identity as we look through the Beatitudes. He defines what discipleship really looks like. He reveals kingdom life and principles. And He doesn't just share it with anybody. He says, are you willing to climb and learn more? This is the way that I'm asking you to live. He reveals some secrets of the kingdom. But He doesn't give them to everybody. Only to those willing to climb. He forms character, but not always comfort. Here's the truth that I want to hit you with. Then we're going to look at a few more things. If you want mountaintop intimacy with God, you must be willing to do what most people will not do. If you want mountaintop intimacy with God, you have got to be willing to do what most people are not willing to do. So my question as we start 2026, this is my question. Are you willing to climb? Are you willing to do what very few are willing to do? Are you willing to take it to that next step, to that next level in your relationship with Jesus? As we're starting out the year, this is a good time for us to look at our own life and say, am I willing to do this year? And so I'm going to use the acronym CLIMB, C-L-I-M-B, and we're going to look at these things to give you a kind of a framework for the year ahead. And C stands for commitment. To climb means commitment. Luke 9:23 says this. Then He said to them all, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. This isn't the casual believer that Jesus is talking to here, is it? He says, if any of you want to follow me, if any one of you want to come after me, I mean, this is giving up. When He says, take up your cross, follow me and die. Come and join me on this thing. I'm not talking about healing. I'm talking about discipleship, the next level. This isn't seasonal or situational. It's easy to follow Jesus during the good seasons and the good situations, but what about the bad seasons and the bad situations? This is a different level of faith that we're talking about. Not occasional faith, not convenient faith. And I hope you don't ever get the wrong idea as you read through Scripture, because I don't read anywhere where it was in any way, shape, or form convenient for followers of Christ, Old or New Testament. He always asked above and beyond. Gideon, get out of the winepress. I don't care what your resume says. I don't care what your heritage is. I'm calling you to something greater. Will you trust me? Will you do what I've asked you to do? We could go through the list of people all throughout the Old Testament and the New Testament, those who were willing to be committed. Every single one of the disciples, with the exception of John, martyred for the cause of Christ. I was reading about William Tyndale the other day. We now have Tyndale Publishing. But William Tyndale, he wanted to get the Bible translated from Latin to English. And he died for it. He was martyred. They were so angry because he said, I think even the boy who's working in the fields should know more Scripture than you know right now, because you're just being told controlled when somebody tells you, I want it to be personal, in your hand, alive, and people got so upset. The church got so upset. They killed him for it. He literally died so we could have the Bible that we have today. I mean, these are the men and women that we could read about and talk about throughout history. And I'm wondering if we would be willing to be in that category to say, I'm going to take it to the next level. So we have commitment. We have to have a level of commitment. And then the L, we have to let go. Lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Hebrews 12:1. When you're hiking Mount Everest, there's got to be a 2-month commitment. There's got to be a financial commitment. There's got to literally, I could lose my life over this commitment. But there also has to be a letting go. A letting go. Like, you don't climb with full hands, do you? You stand at the base and you're ready to climb, but you're carrying stuff. How are you going to be able to climb a mountain with full hands? That's what Hebrews 12 says. We got to let go of sins, but also anything that would keep us from getting to Christ. We're to fix our eyes on Christ and to set aside even those things that are kind of neutral, to say, this is keeping me. I can't tell you how many phone apps, I'm going to tell on myself for a moment. We all like our smartphones, don't we? And I see these ads that come while I'm playing my solitaire at night or something, and I go, ooh, that looks like a fun game. And what do? Download. And then I see another one, oh, that looks like a fun game, download. And then the next thing you know, what are you doing? You're just playing these games. They're not evil or bad or anything, but the next thing you know, and so I can't tell you how many times over the last year I've added games and then deleted them because I'm like, I can't do this. I'm called to something more. I'm called to something deeper. And the same with our sin. We can't keep living in this perpetual cycle. And sometimes it's harder for some than others because it feels like it's a different form or a different type, or you just can't get past the struggle. But God's saying, deny yourself. Take up your cross and follow me. So what weighs you down? Sin, comfort, fear, distractions. And then you got to let go. You got to learn how to tie in. I used to climb trees back in the day. I was bivocational, and I worked for the electric company, and I would climb these trees and trim branches away from the power lines. It was not a fun job. Every once in a while it was shocking, but it wasn't fun. And so you guys, that's all right. You didn't have to get out. And so you cut trees, but what we do is I get these spikes on my boots, and then you start climbing. You get the rope around the tree, and you put it up just like a lumberjack. I wasn't as cool as a lumberjack. I wish I was. I was just working for the electric company. And you climb, and you climb, and you climb, and you get to a branch, and you put the other rope around and untie the one. I mean, it was a tedious process. But the one thing that I learned in that process, in that season of my life, is I have to learn to trust the equipment. Because at some point, I've got to take the chainsaw. I'm climbing with a chainsaw. It's not very smart. I don't think insurance was very good for that job. Take the chainsaw, and you got to cut branches. You tie in, double tie in, just in case. Bless you. Just in case you cut the one rope, you have a second rope. But you got to tie, you got to trust. So I can hang on, and I can cut. And do what I need to. And the same thing we have to do spiritually is we have to learn to trust our equipment. We have to learn to trust God. We've got to learn to trust His Word. And not try to do it all on our own, because that gets difficult. But it would be a lot easier if we let go and we tied in and we said, God, you're going to take me places this year that maybe I've never been. You're going to call me out of the boat like you did with Peter and walk on water like nobody did. And we can give him grief about sinking and getting his eyes off Jesus. But I'm telling you, the other 11 disciples never got to experience walking on water. So maybe it wasn't perfect, but he still did it because he said, I'm going to try. I'm going to go out on a limb here, you might say, because God's asking me to let go. And then we have to be intentional. That's the I, intentional. We have to have some intentionality in our life. Especially as we start this year. We want to start strong, but we want to finish strong as well. 1 Timothy 4, 7 and 8 says this. Discipline yourself toward godliness. For bodily exercise profits a little, but godliness is profitable for all things. Discipline yourself. Can I tell you that no one drifts uphill intentionally? Unintentionally, I mean. You don't fall up. You fall down, right? Nobody just drifts up. You always drift back to what's comfortable, what's normal, what's casual. For you to do this well, to have intentionality moving forward, to climb with Jesus, like there's got to be some intentionality saying, I am doing this, I'm going to make it a plan, I'm going to put reminders on my phone, I'm going to do whatever I have to do because I know my drifting is back to just normal status quo. And I hate living there. I hate living normal. God's called us to something so much more. But you can't do what everybody else does and expect to live different than everybody else lives. Einstein calls it insanity to keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. It doesn't happen. You want different results this year? We've got to live a different lifestyle this year. You want to get closer to Jesus this year? You got to buckle in, strap in, and say, God, I'm willing to climb with you. I'm willing to go to that next level. Like, thank you for healing. Thank you for provision. Thank you for all of these things. But if you're heading up the mountain, I'm not staying here with the crowd. I'm coming with you. I'm following you. All of that leads to maturity. Is the M. Ephesians 4:14-15 says this, we should no longer be children, tossed to and fro by the waves and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by human cunning, by craftiness and deceitful schemes. Rather, speaking truth in love, we are to grow up. I love that. Anybody ever had somebody tell you that, maybe when you were a kid, like, grow up? Or maybe as an adult man. I've had a few people tell me that as a grown man. Grow up. Why are you acting like a child? This is what he's called us to in 2026, though, is to maturity, to grow up in every way into him, who is the head, Christ. Our goal is to look more and more and more like Jesus. Because climbing isn't about hype. It's about being formed and fashioned into Jesus. It's about pruning. It's about shaping things. You guys realize in the passage in Jeremiah it says, I am the potter and you are the clay. I know with my life I like to be the clay and the potter. And anytime I do that, it doesn't work out well for me. It doesn't work out well for me. But being the clay hurts because it's a lump of clay. And the potter's got to take that clay and he's got to work the clay. I don't know if you've ever been to a potting class or seen this in action, maybe at Dollywood where they're making the clay pots, but they have to work that clay until it's moldable. It's a hard piece of clay and you just have to hit it and pound it. It's like kneading bread. As the clay, that doesn't feel good. You're sitting there wondering, what are you doing to me? This hurts. It doesn't feel good. Trust me, there's a process. And then he takes the clay and he puts it on this piece of wood or this piece of plastic and he starts spinning. Can you imagine being the clay for a moment and you're spinning? I don't like those rides. I can do roller coasters. I love roller coasters, but get me away from the fair rides, the spinning, like the teacups that just go faster and faster. Can you imagine being the clay? God, this doesn't feel good. It feels like my life is spinning out of control. But what is he doing? He's working and he's molding it, making sure it's even around the whole thing. And what does he say? He says, trust me. Can you just trust me? I know it doesn't feel good. I know you feel like you're going to get off the ride and throw up all over the place. But can you trust me? And then he takes it off of the spinning wheel. And then he opens the oven. This is terrible. If we personify the clay pot for a moment and he puts it into the oven, into the fire, and you're sitting there looking out, because we all have the ovens now with the, it's open where you can turn the light on and see how things are going in there, and you're looking out going, this hurts, it's hot, it doesn't feel good, I'm refining you. I'm getting all the impurifications out of you. I'm refining you like gold. I'm bringing everything to the surface so we can deal with it, so you can be pure. Like James says in James 1, lacking nothing, persevering all these things, so you can be complete, mature. But it hurts. Can you trust me? And then he pulls you out of the kiln, out of the fire. And they actually do it twice. I didn't realize that, but they put you back in a second time because they glaze you. He coats you with this glaze to bring out the colors and the beauty of it. And then they put you in one more time at a high, high heat. A second time, really, God, I thought we were past this. I thought it was good. I'm starting to take shape. Everything looks good. Trust me. puts you up on a shelf to be used, and you look across and there's a mirror, and you see yourself. The last time you saw yourself, you were just a lump of clay, and now you're this beautiful, beautiful picture that can be used. That's what God wants to do, but are you willing to go through? Because most of us aren't. It's not fun. Pruning's not fun. Refining's not fun. These things aren't fun, but He wants to mature us. His goal is not for you to be comfortable. His goal is for you to have character. His goal isn't for you to be talented. He doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called. He's not worried about how great you are. He says, what are you going to do with what you have this year? I want you to be mature, complete, lacking nothing, to grow up in every way into Christ. And after we have commitment, we let go, we have intentionality, maturity, then He wants to bless us. And just like the song we sang at the end in Numbers 6, 24 through 26, it says this, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. He wants to give you blessings, and He also wants you to be a blessing. Now that you're mature, now that you've been committed, now that you've let go, you've had intentionality, you've matured, not only can I bless you, but now you can be a blessing to this world. And not worldly blessings, but kingdom blessings, beatitude blessings. Blessed are those. Blessed are the peacemakers. There's a deep joy, true life. Because God is calling us this year not just to hear sermons, not just to attend services, not just to be in the crowd. He wants us to be transformed. He wants us to learn His way to become more like Him. Because crowds follow Jesus at surface level, but disciples follow Him up the mountain. Crowds like surface level, ground level Jesus. But God's called us to something greater. And again, I asked you this question several times throughout this sermon, but the question I'm going to leave you with this morning is, will you climb this year? Will you follow Him? We're going to start diving into the Sermon on the Mount next week, but will you follow Him? Not just in the Decapolis, not just in the valleys, not just in the easy moments, but would you be willing to be a disciple, to be a follower, so you can be a blessing to this world through this year? Would you bow your heads with me?